Williams and Sophia had been best friends since they were born. Their friendship wasn't by chance but something that started even before they took their first breaths. Their mothers, Janet and Rose, had been childhood friends. They grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, and shared everything like sisters. So when they both became pregnant around the same time, their joy doubled. They dreamed of their children growing up together, playing, learning, and becoming as close as they were. Living just a few houses apart, Williams and Sophia did everything together. They went to the same school, sat in the same classroom, and spent most of their free time at each other's homes. Their mothers often joked that they were like twins, always seen together, laughing, talking, and making plans for the future. One warm evening, Williams and Sophia sat at the dining table, surrounded by textbooks and notebooks. Their final exams were just a few days away, and they were studying hard. William's mother, Janet, walked into the room and smiled as she saw them deep in concentration. She cleared her throat and said, "Children, I have a little surprise for you." Sophia and Williams looked up eagerly. "Whoever gets the highest score in your class will receive a brand new cell phone from me," Janet announced with a warm smile. Sophia's eyes widened with excitement. "A new phone? That would be amazing," she exclaimed. Williams grinned. "That means I have to study extra hard. I really want that phone." Sophia nodded with determination. "Let's see who wins it. I will study all night if I have to." Williams chuckled. "Let the best student win." With that, they both buried their heads in their books, eager to outdo each other in a friendly competition. The night before the exam, the house was silent. The only sound was the rustling of papers as Sophia flipped through her textbooks. The dim light of her bedside lamp cast soft shadows on the walls. Her mother, Rose, woke up to get a glass of water and noticed the light still on in Sophia's room. Curious, she pushed the door open gently and saw her daughter hunched over her books, her eyebrows furrowed in concentration. "Sophia, my dear, why are you still awake?" Rose asked softly, walking into the room. Sophia rubbed her tired eyes. "Mama, I still have a lot to cover. I want to make sure I do my best in the exam." Rose sat beside her and stroked her hair. "You have studied enough, my child. You need to rest so you can do well tomorrow." "But Mama, I really want to win the phone. I have to be the best in class," Sophia whispered. Her mother smiled warmly and kissed her forehead. "You are already a winner in my eyes. Now close your books and get some sleep. A well-rested mind will help you remember everything better." Sophia sighed but nodded. "'Kay, Mama. Just 5 more minutes." Rose chuckled. 5 minutes, and then lights out. As soon as her mother left the room, Sophia tried to read a little more but soon found her eyelids growing heavy. Within minutes, she drifted into sleep, her books still open beside her. The next morning, the school was filled with nervous energy as students arrived for their final exams. Some whispered last-minute revisions to themselves, while others paced up and down, trying to calm their nerves. Williams and Sophia exchanged a determined look before heading into the exam hall. The test papers were distributed, and the hall fell silent. Sophia and Williams focused hard, their pens moving quickly as they answered each question. Hours passed, and finally, the invigilator announced that time was up. After the exams, the students could barely wait for their results. Days passed in anxious anticipation. Then the much-awaited day arrived. The principal called all the students to the assembly ground for the results and award ceremony. The students stood in hushed silence as the principal stepped forward and held up a sheet of paper. "The best performing student in this class is..." He paused for effect, scanning the crowd with a smile. "Sophia." The school erupted in cheers and applause. Sophia gasped in surprise, her hands covering her mouth. She turned to Williams, who gave her a proud smile despite a small hint of disappointment in his eyes. "Go on, you earned it," he encouraged. Sophia walked to the front as the principal handed her the certificate of excellence. Her parents clapped joyfully from the crowd, beaming with pride. Then, William's name was announced as the second-best student. He walked up with a smile and collected his certificate, feeling a mix of pride and determination. As promised, William's mother, Janet, kept her word. She stepped forward with a neatly wrapped box and handed it to Sophia. "Congratulations, my dear. You worked hard and you deserve this." Sophia's hands trembled with excitement as she took the gift. "Thank you so much, ma'am," she said gratefully. William's mother turned to her son and ruffled his hair. "You did well too, my boy. I am proud of you. Next time maybe it will be your turn." The children celebrated with their families, taking pictures and sharing laughter. Though Williams wished he had won, he was truly happy for Sophia. Their friendship remained as strong as ever, and this competition only made them more determined to keep striving for excellence. That day they learned an important lesson, not just about studying hard, but about celebrating each other's success and never giving up. The bond between them remained unshaken, and they walked away, hand in hand, ready for the next adventure life had in store for them. Williams and Sophia had always enjoyed each other's company. Almost every day after school, Williams would come over to Sophia's house. They would finish their homework quickly and then spend hours watching cartoons, playing games, or talking about their dreams. One afternoon, after eating a plate of rice and fried chicken prepared by Sophia's mother, the two friends settled in the living room with a new phone. The television was on, but their attention was on the small screen as they flipped through different apps and channels. "Let's find something fun to watch," Williams suggested, scrolling through different videos. Sophia nodded. "Maybe a new cartoon or a funny show." As they tapped on a random video, an unfamiliar clip popped up on the screen. The title was strange, and the thumbnail showed a man and a woman in an unusual position. "What kind of video is this?" Sophia asked, tilting her head. "I don't know," Williams replied. "Let's check it out." He tapped on the video and it began playing. First they watched in silence. The people in the video acted in a way they had never seen before. Sophia's eyes widened. "What are they doing?" she asked, shifting uncomfortably. Williams hesitated before answering. "I think it's something for adults," he said, his voice unsure. The way the man and woman behaved in the video was different from anything they had seen in cartoons or movies. The woman seemed to be enjoying herself, laughing and making strange sounds. "This is weird," Sophia whispered, but she didn't look away. When the video ended, another one started playing automatically. Without realizing it, they kept watching, their curiosity growing stronger. What had begun as an accident soon became a habit. Every day after school, instead of watching their favorite cartoons or playing games, they secretly searched for more of these adult videos. Days turned into weeks. Their excitement for innocent childhood activities slowly faded. They no longer talked about their dreams or played with their toys like before. Even during class, Sophia found her mind wandering back to the videos. Williams, too, would secretly think about what they had watched instead of focusing on his schoolwork. One evening, as Sophia lay in bed, she felt uneasy. She remembered how much fun they used to have watching cartoons, telling stories and laughing together. Now things felt different. Something in her heart told her that what they were doing was not right, but she couldn't understand why. Meanwhile, Williams also began to notice a change in himself. He wasn't as excited about school as he used to be. His grades started dropping and his mother grew concerned. "Williams, is something wrong?" his mother asked one evening as he struggled with his homework. He quickly shook his head. "No, Mama, I'm fine." But deep inside, he knew that things were not the same. He just didn't know how to stop. It started as a simple curiosity, but soon watching those videos became a habit. Every day after school, Sophia and Williams would rush to her house, lock the door and open the phone. The cartoons they once loved no longer interested them. Instead, they were drawn to these new, mysterious videos. They didn't fully understand what they were watching, but they couldn't stop. One afternoon, after watching another video, Sophia turned to Williams with a strange look in her eyes. "Williams, what if we try it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Williams' eyes widened in shock. "Oh, that's not for kids like us," he said quickly, shaking his head. "But why not?" "The people in the videos seem to enjoy it," Sophia argued, tilting her head. Williams hesitated, his heart pounding. Something about it didn't feel right, but Sophia's words made him curious. Before they could say more, a loud voice interrupted them. "Williams! It's time to go home." His mother's voice rang from outside. Williams jumped up, his face red. He quickly fixed his trousers, grabbed his bag, and rushed out of the room without another word. Sophia watched him leave, her mind racing with thoughts. The next day, Sophia and Williams were determined. After watching countless videos, they were finally ready to try what they'd been so curious about. They had seen enough to make up their minds. They waited until the house was empty. No one was around. The house was quiet, and the only sound was the faint rustling of leaves outside the window. With a mix of nervousness and excitement, they locked the door and pulled the curtains closed. The room became darker, the shadows filling every corner. It felt like the world outside had disappeared, leaving only the two of them in their own space. They stood there for a moment, not sure if they should really do it. But then, without saying a word, they both nodded. It was time. They did it. But it wasn't as fun as they had imagined. There was no thrill, no excitement like in the videos they had watched. Instead, it felt strange, like something wasn't quite right. They both lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling, each one lost in their own thoughts. Days passed, and slowly they started doing it again. At first it was awkward, but as time went on they grew more comfortable. They started to enjoy it just like in the videos. Every day after school, they couldn't wait to meet and explore more. But as the weeks went by, things began to change. Their minds were constantly elsewhere. They found it harder to focus on school. Sophia's grades started dropping, and so did Williams. Their teachers noticed. Sophia's class teacher had been watching her for some time, noticing how she would often daydream in class, her mind clearly not present. One day the teacher called in Sophia's mom. "Sophia has been distracted in class lately," the teacher said, looking concerned. "She doesn't seem to be paying attention. She smiles to herself sometimes, and her grades have really dropped." Sophia's mom listened carefully. "Thank you for telling me, ma'am," she said. "I'll talk to her when she gets home. Sophia has always been a bright student. I'm sure something is bothering her." "I hope so, madam," the teacher replied. "That's why I'm bringing it to your attention. If there's something wrong, it's better to address it soon." As Sophia's mother left the school, her mind raced. What could be bothering her daughter? Sophia had always been a top student. She had everything she needed, so why was she acting this way? She promised herself she would talk to Sophia when she got home. That afternoon at school, Sophia leaned in close to Williams and whispered, "We'll do it after school in the classroom." Williams looked nervous. "I don't know if that's a good idea," he whispered back. "What if we get caught?" "We won't get caught," Sophia insisted. "We'll wait until everyone else leaves." So after school they both stayed behind. They pretended to be busy, dragging out their time as they waited for all the other students to leave. The hallways became quieter as the final bell rang, and soon enough, they were alone in the empty school. Sophia and Williams walked to a quiet corner of the classroom, both of them smiling at each other. It felt like a secret between just the two of them. They were about to go further, their curiosity pulling them closer together, when suddenly, the door swung open with a loud bang. "What are you two doing?" a voice shouted. They froze in shock. Standing in the doorway was their class teacher, her eyes wide with surprise. She had been watching them from the hallway and had come to see what they were up to. Sophia and Williams scrambled to their feet, their faces turning bright red. Guilt washed over them like a heavy wave, and fear made their hearts race. "Follow me," the teacher ordered sternly. Now. Both of them walked behind her, their hearts thumping in their chests, knowing this was the moment everything would change. They had been caught, and there was no way out. What would become of them now, they wondered. They both felt a cold sense of dread as they walked down the empty hallway. They had never felt this way before. It was like the walls were closing in, and all their secrets were about to be exposed. The teacher marched Williams and Sophia down the long hallway. It seemed longer than it ever had before, and every step they took felt heavier. Their hearts pounded in their chests, and they couldn't stop thinking about what was going to happen next. When they reached the principal's office, they stopped at the door. The principal, a tall woman with sharp eyes and a serious face, was sitting behind a large wooden desk. Her office was quiet and dark, with only the sound of a ticking clock in the background. The walls were filled with certificates and awards, but none of it made them feel better. She didn't greet them. Instead, she folded her arms and sighed deeply. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. "How long has this been going on?" she asked, her voice cold and strict. Williams swallowed nervously. He felt his throat tighten. "Since we started watching videos on her phone," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. The principal's eyes darkened as she stared at them. Without saying another word, she reached for the phone on her desk. She quickly dialed numbers, and before long, both their mothers were on their way to the school. When their mothers arrived, both looking confused and worried, they were led to the principal's office. As soon as the principal explained what had happened, both women were shocked. Sophia's mother gasped, her face turning pale. "Sophia, how could you?" she cried, her voice shaking. Tears filled her eyes, and she reached out to hold her daughter, but Sophia couldn't look at her. She felt too ashamed. William's mother was just as upset. She looked at her son with trembling hands. "No wonder you've been acting so strange," she said softly, her voice filled with worry. She felt both anger and sadness, wondering where she had gone wrong. The principal shook her head slowly, a disappointed look on her face. "This is what happens when children have unlimited access to the internet without any guidance or supervision," she explained. "It confuses their minds and distracts them from their education." Both mothers began to cry. They realized that they had trusted their children too much, allowing them to have so much freedom without teaching them what was right. They had never imagined that something like this could happen. After a few moments of silence, the principal spoke again. "I'm sorry, but we cannot allow this kind of behavior at this school. They could influence other students in a negative way. I'm afraid Williams and Sophia are hereby expelled." Sophia and Williams were stunned. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. The word expelled felt like a sharp blow to their hearts. They looked at their mothers, hoping for a miracle, but it was too late. The decision had been made, and nothing could change it. The walk home was quiet. The only sound was the soft shuffle of feet on the ground. Neither mother spoke as they walked beside their children. Their heads were down, and their hearts were heavy. They felt ashamed, both of their children and of themselves. Once they arrived home, the mothers sat their children down for a serious talk. "You don't understand how much damage this could have caused," Sophia's mother said sternly, her voice trembling. "You're too young for this kind of thing. You need to be careful." William's mother added, "Not everything you see on the internet is good for you. Some things can ruin your life before it even begins. I should have taught you better. I should have paid more attention." The words stung, and Sophia and Williams could feel the weight of their mistakes. Their mothers, realizing that they had failed to teach them the right lessons, began to talk together about how to move forward. They knew they had made mistakes by not teaching their children about sex and by giving them too much freedom with the internet. It was a hard lesson for everyone, but they decided to fix things. They promised to teach their children what they needed to know and to help them understand the consequences of their actions. The next day, both children went to a doctor for a medical checkup. Their mothers made sure to listen more carefully to their children, understanding that they needed to be their children's best friends, not just their parents. They knew now that they had to be more involved in their lives to prevent anything like this from happening again. Sophia and Williams were both sent to different schools. The mothers made sure that their phones had limited access, and they kept a close eye on what they were doing. They could no longer visit each other freely, and their friendship, once innocent and pure, was now strained. Though they remained friends, their bond was forever changed. They no longer saw each other the same way, and the mistakes they made would stay with them for the rest of their lives. It was a painful lesson, but one that both families would never forget. They learned the importance of supervision, trust, and communication. And as hard as it was, they were all determined to grow from it, never letting their children face such a situation again.